Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and on today's episode, I'm talking to Donna from the Donna the Dead podcast about M. Night Shyamalan's Glass. But first, she and I are talking about all the newest stuff. How's it going, Donna?
It is going great, Robert. It is just, what can I say? Walking on sunshine.
For some reason, I don't think you really are.
I am. You can't tell it in my voice, and I'm like, it's perfect. Everything's,
it's
hunky dory.
suff-
Um,
it's suffused with sunshine.
oh my gosh, how you been?
I'm doing all right. Not too bad, actually. Going on a little mini vacay here this week with the family
Ooh,
and everything. But outside of that, just doing the normal stuff. Watching movies. Playing games, doing whatever.
yeah,
It's
man, I've looked
same
at
old for me.
your letterbox has been popping off. Like, I don't
Oh
know.
yeah. I was wondering if you saw all that. Yeah.
Yes,
I've watched a lot this weekend for sure. I go through my phases where I don't watch anything and then I suddenly watch it like everything.
yeah,
So this weekend was kind of like an everything.
I
Um
saw.
so yeah, so we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, no, it's been all right though. Glad you're doing well, even if it sounds just a tiny bit fake.
Well, my cousin came in from out of town, and then I was spending so much
Yeah.
time with him, and I am one of those people where after about 30, 40 minutes, I want to go home, and
Yeah.
I wasn't able to. So, and it was 2 days of that. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
really need to, go back in my introvert shell and
Yeah,
kind of
that's a lot
recharge
of
a bit.
peopling. Yeah.
Yeah, too much people in for me. But yeah, I'm good now. So
That's good. Yep. Yep. I feel that. I feel that. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I did watched one movie in the theater and then I caught up on a on another movie that just came to streaming that was from this year as well.
oh, nice.
So yeah, so I'll go ahead and start off. The first movie was the new movie that just came out in the theater called Him. It's directed by Justin Tipping, produced by Jordan Peele. A lot of people were apparently confused and thought it was a
Yes.
Jordan Peele movie,
I hate
which I
when they do
get.
that.
I know, I get it because Jordan Peele's name is big and bold on the
Hmm.
poster and everything else like that. But it does say from like produced by, not
Exactly.
directed by. And so I don't know. I feel like that's just, I don't know, reading comprehension. Um,
That sounds
so,
about right.
so but I thought it was good. It's getting a lot of mixed reaction online, like on Letterboxd and stuff. I'm seeing a lot. Like I looked at the reviews afterward, and a lot of people are just kind of hating on it, and I'm like, why? It was decent. I didn't, as a person who doesn't pay attention to sports because
Mhm.
I don't like sports at all. Um, I thought it was decent for what it was. Like I understood what they were going for, like all the themes and stuff like that. I don't think it was trying to say anything like that we hadn't seen before, but it was
Mhm.
just saying it in an interesting horror tone. Um and just definitely some comedy in it. Lots of like kind of just dark comedy. And so I don't know, it worked for me. So but yeah, if you're not up for that kind of thing, maybe or maybe they saw it as something else. I don't know. I don't know what people are having an issue with, but I thought it was good.
I think it's what we talked about before. Well, one, go into the movie just going into the movie, don't go in with such high expectations.
Yeah,
I think the Jordan Peele name being the producer and people just confusing it, like you said, reading comprehension, they
true.
just assume that they're getting another Jordan Peele movie, which that's not even, that's exactly what they did with Candyman, and that pissed me off to no end.
Hmm. Yeah.
Let this director do what he's doing. And then the other thing is people aren't letting things sit with them. Let it sit with you for a minute before you start
Yes.
going on Letterboxd and going, "Oh, this wasn't what I thought it was going to be." Well, of course it wasn't what you didn't make the movie. You you paid to
Yeah.
go see it. You didn't make it. So let it sit with you for a minute and see how it hits you. Don't just jump on the whole.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of negativity about this movie, and I'm excited to see it. I haven't gone to see it yet, but I know it looks very dark, but it looks very interesting, and I'm really
Yeah.
glad to see Marlon Wayans in yet another role that's not a comedic role. I know that there is some dark comedy in it,
Yeah.
but I think I'm most excited to see Tyreek Withers, who's, really kind of up on a rise. I don't know if you saw, if you were a fan of Atlanta, that TV show that was on FX.
I saw the first two seasons. I need to catch up on it.
So there's a season that people complained about and they groaned about where it was more like a horror anthology. The whole season was kind of told with these different stories. And I saw him, Tyreek Withers, on an episode that was hilarious. It was all about trying to prove that you're black enough, and he clearly is a biracial person.
Right.
And so it's just his performance just in that 30-minute episode was so great. I was so excited to see that he was the star of this movie and that he was in I Know What You Did Last Summer, the remake of that.
Hmm.
I really want good things for him because I think he's an incredible actor, and the fact that you said that you could understand where they were going and what they were going for, that makes me feel better going to see it. But I think people need to let it sit and just kind of, if
Yeah.
you
I
don't
think
like it, that's fine, but try to at least try to form your own opinion before you just start bashing it because everybody else is.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that's, typically I try not to do I try to do a letterbox review the same day that I go and watch it, but it depends on like if I love something out the gate, then I'm gonna immediately
Mhm.
put it out there because like obviously I had no problem with it. But if there's something where I'm just like I don't know if I like or if there was something I definitely didn't like and
Right.
I might still put something out early. But like if there's something I'm kind of like on the fence about, then I might be like, oh, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't, like maybe look at the review. That's what happens is I look at the reviews and I see,
Mhm.
okay, am I missing something? And um, so I do like to do that. I do like to sit with it, kind of look at other people's reviews and get a sense of, you know, maybe there's something more there that I just didn't get, and that's when you'll typically see, like, if I post something where I just didn't love something, so that's how I posted is just like this movie wasn't for me, and that's I think in large part where I'm like I try to review things differently because
Mhm.
I do look at it differently. Like every movie's not for me. I'm not going to love
Right.
every movie. There are a lot of horror classics, as what we've mentioned several times on this show, that I just don't love. But I'm glad other people love them. I don't see the appeal in them, but they're not for me. They're for other people who really love that stuff. And so, whereas I like other stuff that maybe other people don't love. So, so I try to give it that little breathing room. And
Right.
that's gonna play into my next segment here that I'm gonna talk about with this other movie. So um but yeah, it's just but I think it's good. I thought it was interesting. I went with Katrina and she thought it was interesting enough, but she was also hearing from like her fellow employees and stuff like that. She also
Mhm.
she works at AMC, and some of her fellow employees who had seen it were also kind of like, but wasn't that good, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, it might not be good for you. That doesn't mean it's not good. So,
Right, exactly.
and that's what I want people to understand is like, even if you're doing those reviews and you didn't like it and everything like that, don't just outright say it's not good. Like maybe like unless you've got something to back it up with, like something that like I don't know, like something about the production or something else like that, cinematography wasn't good or something like that. Say that, don't
Mhm.
say that something wasn't good. Just say it's not for you. So
Right.
that other people might enjoy it. So I don't know. It just that's kind of what always bothers me about critics and reviewers and stuff like that. It's like, okay, I get you're putting your own personal thing on that, and I'm leaving that there, but just make sure that you're kind of couching it in those terms. So anyway, that's my soapbox. I'm going to get off of it now. I liked it. I thought it was good. If you're interested in it, I think you should at least give it a watch. If you're
Right.
not going to go to the theater, wait till streaming. You know, that's what I did with the next movie that I watched. So, did you want to? do one of your things before I do this next movie, or
Yeah, I mean,
okay,
I only have like three trailers. The
okay,
very first one I wanted to talk about is the Anaconda trailer
yes,
with
that's on my list also.
Paul Rudd and Jack Black. I honestly didn't know how I was gonna feel about it, but after seeing this trailer, I it looks like it's gonna be a lot of stupid fun, and I think we all
Oh
need a
yeah,
little bit of stupid fun right about now. Um, so they're playing like two friends who loved Anaconda, and they want to remake the movie, but subsequently the snake that they get they accidentally kill, so they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do, how they're gonna remake it. They've only got like what, like 9 grand on this this trailer, and they just
yeah,
said so of course they end up getting stalked by an actual like anaconda. It just looks like a lot of dumb fun, and
yes.
I applaud them for just making a dumb fun movie, not trying to remake Anaconda, because Anaconda itself is like a mystery science theater level of horror movies.
I
I
have never actually seen the original
You're not
Anaconda.
missing anything.
I will have to watch it beforehand just so I get a sense of, what I've heard a lot of people say they like it, they enjoy it, but I've also heard, yeah, it's this very terrible movie.
I just it
Um,
it's cringeworthy because it's got like, I think John Voight is in this along with
yeah,
J-Lo and Ice Cube, and it's like, huh?
yeah,
What kind
yeah.
of movie is
It's
this?
a weird mix of people.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, this looks like a lot of fun. I mean, I like both of them anyway, so I
Oh,
know
I
people are.
love Paul Rudd and Jack Black. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I'm on board with all, and Steve Zahn is in it too.
and who's
Can
the Dandy Newton?
Tandy,
Is it,
it's Tandy
yeah.
Newton. Yeah. Like I'm okay with her. Like I don't hate her or anything like that, but she doesn't do anything for me. Like in terms of like I think she's fine, but I
I
don't
don't
love
think I've
her
ever seen
in
her do
stuff.
a outright comedy, so I'm a
No.
little
Yeah.
excited about that.
Yeah. I mean, Jack Black and Paul Rudd are heavyweights in comedy, but Steve Zahn is no slouch himself.
Oh
Like
no, I love
Steve
him.
Zahn
I
is
love him
great.
so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Ever since that thing you do, I've been a big fan of his. So um but yeah, no, I'm excited to see this one. It looks hilarious. So, um, but yeah, just anything they do, like obviously I don't watch everything they do, but like for the most
Mhm.
part, this is just too funny looking to pass up.
Mhm.
Just and I think it's the first time Jack Black and Paul Rudd have worked together. So, and it's just like, why haven't you guys worked together before? And Katrina was so funny too because I showed her the trailer and she's like, "How do they look younger than they have?" And it's like, I don't know how they keep plastic surgery. I don't know, just clean living. So, but yeah, it looks funny though,
Yeah, it
definitely.
does.
All right, so this weekend I heard that 28 years later it was hitting Netflix.
Mhm.
So I didn't see it in the theater. I admit I've never been a big fan of the one, I'm not a huge fan of zombie movies in
Mhm.
general. And two, I had watched the original two movies years ago, like whenever they probably first came out around that time.
Right.
And wasn't really super into them. Was just like, I mean, feels like typical zombie movie type stuff. Um, and I get that, like, kind of looking at, so I went back and rewatched the original two first and then watched the new one this weekend. That's what I was doing this weekend. Um, and so I went back and watched the original two. They're okay. They're still nothing mind blowing to me. I know that when the original 28 Days Later came out, it kind of that's the movie that sparked the zombie renaissance.
Mhm.
So, um, so I get that that holds a special place for people, especially people who like zombie movies. But like I felt like because there's because I was talking to my son about it afterward, and my son was like, "Oh yeah, but they were doing everything that that kind of everybody was doing afterward." I was like, "Yeah, but it was doing everything that Romero did before. Like
Mhm.
it didn't stretch anything new, like to me, like other than fast rage zombies,
Right.
that weren't actually dead people. So I was just like, but other than that, it was like it was still all the tropes of you're really just following this group of people and how they're dealing with the aftermath of society falling. Um, so which again was fine. The performances were great. It was interesting going back and seeing, you know, Cillian Murphy, Brendan Gleeson, and Christopher Eccleston. Now I know who they are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because at the time I didn't know who any of those guys were. But now knowing who they all are, that was like, okay, now that makes it a little bit more interesting. Um, the the main problem I had with it is the movie looks like ass. Like I get that it was made on digital video of the time. And so it's very rough and very like I don't know, like it just looks bad. Um and except for the very last bit which they filmed later and they actually just filmed that on 35 millimeter. It's like, oh, okay, you can tell they actually did something different for this. Um but I will say 28 weeks later, while still not being a great movie for me, I thought was better. I like the more expansive scope of it. Um, at least in terms of you're still following a group of people um while they deal with the zombies and with the infected, not the zombies, but they deal with the infected. And then the more expansive story about how they did cut off England. Everything outside of England is
Mm-hmm.
fine, for the most part. And um, you didn't have the same problems. So I thought that was interesting that, and you get the US group coming in. And again, seeing early performances by Jeremy Renner, Rose Byrne, Idris
Mm-hmm.
Elba, and stuff like that was kind of, oh, okay, this is actually kind of neat. Um, because at the time, again, I didn't know who any of these people are. And now several of them have gone on to do bigger things, and
Right.
so that was pretty cool. um but I will say I actually really enjoyed 28 years later. I thought it was really good. I thought it was interesting to take um it in this direction, this island that's completely isolated themselves this whole time, um and managed to keep the infected at bay, but also learn that the infected have changed now too. There's these things called alphas and all this stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was like really cool. I don't maybe I'm just desensitized to stuff, but I didn't see anything in the movie that was overly um that polarizing, and I can kind of understand the end part, because I know the the history behind who they seem to be
Oh
imitating.
yeah.
And I'm not going to get into that here.
No.
So, but other than that, like it seemed like just a straight up movie and everything like that. But there were definitely some weird things in this movie for sure. Um, it might be worth a talk about in a future episode. Um, but I really wanted to watch this mostly because I really wanted to. Um, I wanted to know what was going on so I could go to the next one that Nia Costa is directing.
Right.
Because I haven't ever seen her first movie because I know it's more of a drama. But I loved Candyman that she did. You
Mm-hmm.
know, going back to what we were saying earlier about Jordan Peele and everything, she did fantastic as a director in that.
Yeah.
And then I loved what she did with the Marvels. And so I want to support her. I want to keep supporting her for sure. But yeah, it was just I thought it was a good movie. Um, Definitely for me the best of them so far. And I'm very interested in seeing what she does with the next one, the Bone
Yeah,
Temple.
I
So
cannot wait to see the next chapter in this.
yeah.
The first 28 days, that's always been my favorite, I think, until I saw this newest part of the
Hmm.
franchise. The 28 weeks is okay. I think it's it's okay. I For some reason that one just did not stick for me. I don't know why. And
Right.
even when I went back and rewatched it recently to prepare for 28 years, I just was like, "Eh, it's okay. I think it's okay." But this 28 years was just unfortunately, we watched it at a time where my husband had just lost his mom, and
Yeah.
there's a
Oh
coming of
God.
age
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a coming of age thing going on in that story, and then we didn't know. We had no idea when we went, so we went in
Yeah.
blind, and then it kind of just hit him like, we
Oh,
felt so
way harder.
terrible
Yeah.
when we took him to see this. Um, but
Yeah, you're like,
even
here, let's get your mind off of things. And then you go to see this movie, you're like, oh crap.
like we're hitting it right
Yeah.
on the nail here.
Yeah.
But even he came around, thinking about it. It's like, in some ways, I always say horror movies are cathartic to me. So in
Yeah.
some ways, it was a little cathartic for him to see that film and kind
Yeah.
of feel what he was feeling at that time. We felt horrible because we had no idea that that was the
Yeah.
underlying story, but but you're right. I agree with you 100%. I'm ready to see where she's going to take the story, especially with this character of Spike, this young kid, and now he's with a group of people that are not going to be good for him, I'm sure.
Right.
So yeah, I can understand people being kind of jarred by it because the ending is so drastically different from the whole tone of the movie. But
Right.
like you said, Nia DaCosta, I she can't do any wrong in my book. I absolutely
Yeah.
love her direction.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for that. And for anybody who at the time of this episode releasing, the first and the newest 28 Days Later and 28 Years Later, they're both on Netflix right now. And 28 Weeks Later is on Hulu/Disney Plus. So, I mean, I know there's a big boycott going on of
Mhm.
Disney Plus right now. So, do with that as you may. I believe actually it might be on a couple other things too. Hold on. I just saw that it was on, let's see. It's also on AMC Plus. So if you want to do that, then it's also there. Um, and just also available for rental at like YouTube and
Mhm.
Fandango and stuff like that. So it's available in a couple of different places. My son actually bought them through our shared Fandango account, um, so that he could watch the original two before the new one. Um, so that's how I did it. I just watched those two and then went over to Netflix to watch the new one. But yeah, no, it was pretty good. Definitely interested in the very next one. Um, and then um, but that's all I have for those two things. What is your next thing?
So there was also a new trailer out for a film called The Housemaid, and
It's also on my list.
that is, I figure it would be because Sydney
Yeah.
Sweeney. So Sydney Sweeney is in this film, Amanda Seyfried, and
Yeah.
it looks like Amanda Seyfried is a rich woman who hires Sydney Sweeney to be the title, the
The
housemaid.
live-in, yeah.
Yeah, and but it looks like this family has a lot of dark things going on. Both of these
Yeah.
women look like they have some serious issues going on. I don't know how I feel about it because I've never read the book. It's based on like a best-selling
Oh,
book.
okay. Yeah.
Um, so I may try to hurry up and plow through that book before I watch this movie. But it does look very interesting to see these
Yeah.
both of these women in this movie, and it looks like Amanda may be a little bit on the dark side, but as we see through the
Yeah.
trailer, it also looks like Sydney is got some things going on as well.
Yeah, so you like that's the interesting thing too, because you're like I feel like we were set up in the beginning of the trailer to think that
Mhm.
it's Sydney Sweeney's character who's going to be the one who is uh messing around and being like evil in some way.
Mhm.
But then like midway through it starts to shift and it seems like it's actually Amanda Seyfried's character and you're like, "What? Like which one is doing what?" And then by the end of that trailer you're like, "Or is it both of them?"
Is it
You
both of
know,
them?
so yeah, so it definitely looks kind of twisty, and I'm here for it. So both of those actresses are great, acting wise and everything. So I'm definitely interested in seeing what exactly is going on in this. So, but definitely looks like fun. You'll have to tell me about the book if you do end up reading it, because I'm unlikely to read that. All right, cool, cool. Yeah, I had both Anaconda and The Housemaid also on my list. I did hear about another movie that I had to actually go back and look for the trailer. I actually saw a bit of it on like somebody talking about it on a sponsored ad. Of course, it was on Instagram,
Hmm.
but it's for this movie called Bone Lake. I don't know. Have you brought this one up before? I don't remember you bringing
No,
this one
I
up.
just saw
Okay.
a write-up about that a couple of days ago, and I'm very
Yeah.
intrigued about this one.
Yeah. So let me look it up because I don't want to misdo the synopsis on it. Because it looks interesting. Um, so it says a couple's romantic vacation at a secluded lakeside estate is upended when they are forced to share the mansion with a mysterious and attractive couple. In this darkly hilarious and seductive horror story, a dream getaway spirals into a nightmarish maze of sex, lies, and manipulation, bringing terrifying secrets to light and triggering a bloody battle for survival. So yeah, I watched the trailer on it last night and was like, okay, this looks really interesting. So yeah, I'm intrigued, but yeah, I saw somebody did a sponsored video, like just seemed
Hmm.
like some random like horror um you know Instagrammer slash YouTuber or something like that who was just like, hey, I really like this movie, so I'm going to do this sponsored ad about it. I mean, it was probably like the production company just asking this person to do an ad for them or something like that. But but yeah, no, it looked interesting from what they had shown, and then I was like, okay, now I got to see what's going on in this trailer. It actually looks really good, so definitely gonna check that out. It comes out on October 3rd. So
Yeah, I know that'll be right up your alley because I think the director cited A Clockwork Orange, Evil Dead 2, and Funny Games as visual inspirations. And the Bone Lake, like the bone, is definitely a big component of the
yeah,
movie. So yeah, I'm like you. I really want to see this and see where it's going to go and see how this is going to play out. But it's supposed to be pretty gory, so I'm ready.
yeah, cool. All right. Did you have anything else?
The last thing I had is that they actually have a trailer out now for Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
Mm.
It looks very interesting. I hope this is the last one since they finally named this one
You're
correctly.
right.
Um, but it looks like we have our original four horsemen are back, and we also have a new group of young magicians that are working with them to uncover something huge. So
Yeah.
this one looks like a lot of fun. Looks like Jesse
Yeah.
Eisenberg has a similar uh, tone of snarkiness. He's met his match in one of these younger magicians. So I would love to see how this is going to play out. Just because these movies are a lot of fun. They're not real high stakes. It's like watching any Ocean's 11 movie. They've done the heist 5 days before we get there, but we
Yeah.
are still intrigued by all of the magician tricks and their little banter with each other. So I think they all seem to have fun doing them, and so I've watched all of the other ones. Why wouldn't I
Oh
watch
yeah.
it?
Yeah, same here. I enjoy those, little heist adventure movies.
Hmm.
I'm all for that in general. And then just adding the magic element into it also just is like fantastic for me. I'm a old school like magic lover. I love that kind of goofy stuff. So definitely high on my watch list for sure. So that one was not on my list. I thought about it. I was gonna put it on, and then I was like, nah. And then I'm glad you brought it up though. So that worked out well. So all right. Well, my last thing is that there is a new Humble Bundle out. It's kind of it's not a return, but these books that are in this return often-ish,
Hmm.
at least once a year. So this is a new Dynamite Comics bundle called The Boys versus Everyone. and it includes the entire series of the Boys comics that the TV show is based on.
I love those
Um,
comics so much.
so I have never read them. So I ended up getting this bundle because I was like, you know what? Because it's like I said, it's popped up several times before. And the last time that it popped up, it was just them by themselves, and I was like, well, for that price, like I've seen it with bundled with other comic books, so I
Hmm.
wanted to wait till it was also bundled with another bunch of comics. And this one's got a bunch of stuff from across the Dynamite comics spectrum. So it's got all of the boys stuff. And then it's got a couple of Vampirella things, and it's got some of the Project Superpowers comics in there, and just various other random things. So it definitely is um, a bundle that is um, worth it if you haven't read any of the boys. It's definitely worth it for that. But that's at the highest tier. It's like $24 for like I think it said 35
Hmm.
comics. So it's not a yeah, $24 for 35 comics. If you ever already have all the boys comics, you don't care about this is all digital, by the way,
Hmm.
everybody. I always forget to say that this is all just digital. They come in PDF files and EPUBs if you want to like upload them to Amazon Kindle or something like that, or any other EPUB reader. But yeah, so if you've already got all the boys comics, you don't want to do that. There is a lower bundle for only 18 that you can get all the other comic books. So like for people who've gone through Humble Bundle and gotten all these the boys stuff before, then they can get all this other stuff cheaper. So I know that was a they've been trying to do that a little bit more. I've noticed that, some of their bundles have like the stuff has been in earlier bundles, they try to put the repeat stuff in the higher tier,
Hmm.
which is nice. So it makes it better when you can save a little bit of money on things and you don't need to get the same files twice. So, but yeah, so not too bad. Um, but that's all I have for this stuff for today. Was there anything more that you had?
No, that was actually my last thing.
Okay. Well, before we move on to the rest of the show, why don't you let everybody know what's going on your show this week?
So I took a week off last week, and,
Hmm.
and so this week I am going through with my top five worst and best Stephen King adaptations.
Okay.
Just kind of a little rundown list, and it's a very short
Cool.
episode, but these are my personal picks. That doesn't it's not on anybody else. So y'all can take it or leave it and disagree. That's fine.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sure. I'm sure there. I know of a fact there'd be one movie on my top five probably that probably most people won't have on their top five. So, but it's a personal favorite of mine. So I'm not
but
telling
yeah,
anybody because I'll probably do my own episode like this in the future.
you're gonna tell me after we get through recording. I know that. But yeah, that's what I have coming up this week. So, just something quick to run down since the long walk is out, and I still have not seen it yet. I
Oh
still have not seen
man,
it yet.
gotta go see that. All right. Yeah, cool. I'll definitely want to check that out and listen and hear what your top five are. So, but that'll be cool. All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and dive right into the meat of this episode. We are talking about M. Night Shyamalan's Glass, which is the concluding chapter of his trilogy of superhero-ish movies, which started with Unbreakable and also had Split as well. So Unbreakable, Split, and then Glass. So and today we're talking all about Glass, which is uh interesting. I It's so funny too because when this movie came out, I loved Unbreakable. Always did.
Hmm.
I'm a big, huge comic book fan. As everybody should know by now. And I love superheroes and everything. I don't read as much superhero stuff anymore. I dabble with it here and there, but mostly I read a lot of more independent stuff nowadays. And um but this, I always love when somebody can, like, I don't know, deconstruct, or not even deconstruct, but has reverence
Mm-hmm.
for the medium. And that is very much, if you go back and watch Unbreakable, like you can tell that Shyamalan loves comic books,
Absolutely.
and has a deep, deep understanding of what they are, and about their place in our world and everything else. And I really feel like, and that's what made Unbreakable such a great movie for me. And I love that movie. It's Split kind of veers off of that. It's not steeped in comic books, but it's still a piece of it. And then Glass comes back to all of that. You get a lot more comic book references, and not in terms of referencing specific comic books, but the nature of comic books and what comic books mean and stuff. That's what you're seeing in this movie. And I had previously, it's so interesting too, because like when this movie came out, I was super hyped for it, and I felt let down by it when I
Mm-hmm.
first
I was
saw
the
it.
same way. When I first saw it, I was like, this was okay. I didn't really
Yeah.
appreciate the ending, but rewatching it for this
Oh my God.
episode, I was
Rewatching it.
like, this
Yeah.
was really good. Where was my head when I watched this?
Exactly. I was like, oh
I'm glad it
shit,
wasn't
man.
just me because
Yeah.
it really was quite amazing watching it this time around. My son watched it with me and we were both
Yes.
kind of like, this hits so different now watching this
Right?
movie.
It's so funny. Like, I guess, this movie came out in 2019. And I have a feeling that, because when did Endgame come out? I think Endgame came out around the same time period. Um, let's see, I'm looking at it. There we go. Yeah, 2019, same year.
Mm,
So we had, like, that was the same year that we had the culmination of everything that Marvel had done up to that point. And was that huge big deal and everything. And I think that's kind of what played into it. We had gone from 2008 to 2019 with the expansive Marvel universe and
hmm.
everything, and had been deep into all of this stuff with Marvel, and DC had started their stuff, and like it was the huge explosion of stuff. And so I feel like that was kind of what we were expecting. We were like not fully expecting this, because as Shyamalan, we knew not to expect a
Right,
big battle
exactly.
movie. But like this movie was so slow. And I think that's what, for me, because it starts out kind of interesting and then kind of slows way down, and then picks back up at the end.
Hmm.
And then some stuff happens at the end that we'll get to, that I felt really let down by. And I feel like this time I understood it better. And I think that's what it was. Like I was just like, oh, okay, like I just needed a few years like behind me to like really
Hmm.
get what he was going for, and to um really kind of just understand the placement. And I think that was all it was just that, like, it's so interesting. Just, you know, I think just being caught up in all that. Oh, Marvel, like super, excited, all of
Right.
that. And then Glass is like, yeah, but we're not doing that. and, and I get it now. And I was all like, holy shit, this movie is like fantastic. This movie is so much better than I thought it was.
Yeah, it
Um,
really was. And I once again, this is one of those cases where I I needed to let it sit. I think you're right. I think
yes.
after
Yeah.
coming off of the Marvel high of what we've seen, the height of Endgame, and then seeing this and being like, it was okay. Then
Yeah.
rewatching it again, it's like this is like a breath of fresh air. You
Right.
basically he could have made a series about these different people with different abilities after
Mm-hmm.
watching this. I feel like, especially when we get a glimpse of Sarah Paulson's character and what
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah,
all about.
we're gonna get into that for sure. Um, yeah, and I know that this came out. this came out in January of 2019. So this came out before even Endgame did.
Hmm.
But I think that it was still one of those things where we were riding high up to Endgame. And so I think
Hmm.
that's just where I think that was the problem ultimately. And but getting besides that, it's just, it was also the culmination of his trilogy, which we knew as well. And I should have known. I should have been better prepared for it and more involved. I remembered liking it. I remembered not loving it. But I definitely loved it more. Um, and it has and partially I think it's because you it's a movie called Glass, and we already had Unbreakable, which was mostly about um, Bruce
David.
Willis's
Hmm.
character, David Dunn. Then we had Split, which was about James McAvoy's character, and then Glass. I wanted to have because it's named after him. I thought it was going to be very heavy
Hmm.
Samuel L. Jackson, and it's not. He's don't get me wrong, like after about halfway through, he's definitely in it. But it's like you have to wait till you get to that halfway
It's
point
like a
before
whole
anything really
hour before he actually
yeah.
starts springing into action and doing stuff. I mean, I felt like, okay, well, what's gonna happen? Are we only gonna focus on these two characters, and
Yeah.
when
And
is the
really
last
focusing
part?
on well, and then it felt like it was a second movie all about James McAvoy's character in a lot of ways. Even upon this rewatch, like I was given a lot more latitude, of course, and I still think it's a fabulous movie as it is.
Right.
But it does focus on his character a lot more still, but you realize why later. And so it's just like, okay, this makes a lot more sense. And I think that's again, I think those, I want to get all of this out of the way in the beginning because that's, I think, all the issues that I was having with it in the first time I watched it, that I was just like, this is just, and it got in the way of me enjoying it.
Mhm.
And I think that the watching it this time was just like I was just letting it go. Okay, look, I vaguely remember all this stuff happening. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see how it plays out and everything.
Right.
And the twist, the certified Shyamalan twist that happened later on in the movie, you're just like I don't know, they hit harder this time.
Mhm.
Um, and I was just like, holy shit, man, this movie's fantastic. Like he could seriously spin out a whole franchise with this shit if he really wanted to. But
I wish he would.
I don't think he's ever going to. But I'm with you on that. I think it'd be fantastic. Um, I think he's done, especially because this one did not do well.
Well, I
And
think too, that he had to wait so long to kind of Unbreakable was
yeah,
always supposed to be a trilogy. It was always supposed to be that
hmm
comic book type of setup franchise. And then, to have to wait and then put it all together like this. I think you're right. I think this is the ending he wanted to do and wishes he probably could have done it a lot sooner. Um it it's such a great comic book film. This is one for people who really like to delve deep into the minds of these characters, the psyche of these characters, why they do what they do, why they become villains, why they become heroes.
but
I
also it is so steeped in like like I keep saying the history, but like not in the history, but like the if you know comic books, if
Mhm.
you've read comic books and you know them long enough, there are things there are titles that you can read that also have this deconstructive ability. I don't love Watchmen, but Watchmen does this. There's a book that I do love that unfortunately is by a somewhat controversial writer now, but it's called Planetary, and it's done by Warren Ellis and John Cassaday,
Mhm.
and that is fantastic if you want to read something that is a celebration while also being a deconstruction. Where I feel like Watchmen's kind of like a deconstruction and
Mhm.
a destruction of comic books. There are sometimes where like I know Alan Moore loves comic books, but there's sometimes where I feel like he hates them too.
Mhm.
Whereas Warren Ellis, he's not a great person, but he's a fantastic writer, and every issue of Planetary that I read felt like he loved. comic books. He loved the history of popular culture and stuff like that. And that's kind of what these movies, these Shyamalan movies, feel like. They feel like love letters to comic books
Hmm.
themselves. And so it's not just about the medium, because they talk about it like things living in the four panels
Right.
and everything. And so I love that part of it, but it's also the archetypes, the hero, the villain, the mastermind, the secret shadowy group, and all this stuff. And it's just like I love it because it's just I love when somebody you can feel that love for
Hmm.
the medium and the genre itself, but also isn't so self like um I don't know, isn't parody, isn't
Hmm.
because parody's fine. And I love parody, but like I don't know, the parody can sometimes veer again into that where you feel like they're making fun of the thing that they claim to love so much. And it's just like
Right.
and I'm fine with that, but like I don't know, it just sometimes it comes off weird. And like this, and I get it though, this too, this is so reverent at times that I can see where it could push off normal people who haven't read
A
comic
lot
books
of
like I
comics,
have.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me it's like I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, this thing is like it's such a love letter and such a like a thing. I don't know. It just like this second viewing of it because I don't think I've watched it since I first saw it in the
No,
theater.
I know I haven't. This is
Um,
literally my second time seeing this film.
yeah,
But you're
and
absolutely right.
yeah,
The
go
fact
ahead.
that this is someone who is such a lover of this medium, and the fact that the characters in the movie even are aware that this is the point where the character would have, a
Right.
bubble above their head. They talk in this tone, and there's such an appreciation for that, even down to the color schemes of these characters and
Right.
what those colors represent. And, just everything about it is just so wonderful. I really wish we could have seen a little bit more of David. And at this point, David and his son are doing security, which makes perfect sense, and there's a perfect cover for them to fight crime. Um, and I don't know. I feel the same way you do. I wish we had gotten more of Glass, of the actual of Samuel
Yeah.
Jackson, just because the other two already had their standalone films. We still get a little bit of backstory about Glass. There's some flashbacks and whatnot, but a whole hour into the movie before anything is done. That was like
I did think
torturous to me.
I think it's interesting too because I did talk about this on my earlier episode about Unbreakable, that there are some um, deleted scenes
Hmm.
that felt important to the story, but they were cut for time and stuff, and maybe for pacing and stuff. A couple of those deleted scenes were put into this movie.
Right.
So I thought that was fantastic. The bit with Elijah as a kid on like the tilt-a-whirl.
And also
Um,
the story of David, why they had the rule about the pool because he almost
yeah,
drowned, and those
yeah.
things.
So there's definitely some stuff that was added into this that had been filmed before, and so I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I'm glad they brought these in. Um, but yeah, no, I think that's ultimately like where there is a little bit of a detriment for me in terms of that, like that I really wish they had done a little bit more with um Glass. I get why they didn't. They're lowering your expectations and stuff,
Mhm.
and so that when things do start to hit, they hit big. And I know that part of the reason why we didn't get a lot of David, Bruce Willis's character, is because Bruce Willis was already suffering. He was starting to show
Oh
the
my
signs of the
goodness.
aphasia. Yeah. So
Really?
if anybody doesn't know, Bruce Willis has this thing called aphasia. And it basically makes it hard for you to talk. Um, and hard for you to like remember things. I may be not quite describing it that well, but it's basically made it hard for him to learn his lines and stuff. Um and so apparently like there are scenes where he's in like the cloak like the poncho,
Mhm.
where it's not him, it's a body double.
I didn't know it was
Um,
already affecting him that
yeah,
early.
and so I
Wow.
think that's why we don't get a lot of him in the movie is because they were just they wanted him in the movie, they wanted to make sure he was in the movie, but they also didn't give him a lot to
I
do.
mean, I think that works in his favor just because, you know, with
Yeah,
McAvoy's character, with him with all of the personalities, he's carrying a huge bulk of this movie and he does it well. So,
yeah,
and it also works because of Bruce Willis's character, David being, you know, the strong silent type. I mean, he pretty much was the strong silent type in Unbreakable
yeah, in the
anyway.
first one,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so but this film, I mean, it's such a weird thing to see these characters all together in this one place, which is probably the worst thing that they could have done. They really should have split these people up in different asylums. I don't know. I mean, I know
Yeah.
why. I know the basis of
Yeah.
why, but the
Well,
fact
let's
that
get into that real quick because
yeah,
like that's something we need to talk about is like the crux of this movie is that both David and James McAvoy's character Kevin they get captured and put inside this uh like mental um
like basically an Arkham.
hospital. Yeah, yeah. And there's this doctor who's doing this research on people who think they are superheroes. And she's trying to say she's trying to tell them that no, you're not. You just have this problem in your head. Um look, according to these MRIs that we did of
It's
you,
like
you have
gaslighting
this.
at the highest. Like
Oh, it's
Jesus.
gaslight at the highest, yeah. And so, she's basically and she managed to convince them at least she convinces David and uh,
Kevin.
Kevin
Yeah.
that and makes them doubt. Um, and it's interesting that part of it because then like it kind of makes the audience doubt too. Like I didn't, obviously because I'm just like nah, they're here, they're superhuman. Come on,
But
don't
it but
play
it
with me.
is good to
But
plant that seed of
that
doubt
seed, yeah,
because you're starting to think, well, is he supernaturally strong or is he just a strong person that likes to protect people? You know, he has DID, he's got dissociative identity disorder, and he's got all these multiple personalities, but is he really strong enough to do, you know what I mean? And it's like
mm-hmm,
once you plant that seed of doubt in someone, it's like water in a ship. It starts to sink in, like maybe I'm not this person. I never believed her for a second because if that was the case, then why did you go through all of the safety measures of having like all of the gallons of water coming into his bedroom and
yeah,
the strobe lights in Kevin's room? You're full of shit.
yeah,
but
yeah.
but and I agree with you. I'm not falling for that shit. But it does play into the fact that these people are still human to a degree too. So if you say that I'm not this person, maybe I'm not this person. Maybe I just think that I know how to do all of these things. Um, what's interesting about it is that we've got Elijah in the same place who is fully cognizant of who he is. He knows that he's this masterful mind person because he's now put together, oh, I'm the reason that Kevin is the way he is. I'm the reason that David knows who he is. So if they're like this is definitely me. I'm not this
hmm
crazy person. I mean, he went about it in a terrible way, but but
Yeah.
he knows now, and he knew from the first movie in Unbreakable if he's on
Well,
one side of the spectrum, David's on the other.
exactly. And he plays catatonic through the first half of the movie.
Mhm.
He seems like he's super doped up and he's like his face is twitching and all this. He's doing really great.
Really great
And
job.
it's so funny too because I saw this on when I was looking up some of the trivia on it, and it said Samuel L. Jackson said of working with James McAvoy on the movie, as good as I like to think I am, or what I do and how I do it, watching somebody transform characters in front of your eyes and have an argument with four different people is pretty amazing.
Oh, McAvoy is amazing.
Uh,
It is a masterful feat to play one or two people, but he's playing all of these multiple personalities and
oh
he's doing
man,
all of them convincingly well. I mean, at one point he's seducing this guard who's actually dumb
yeah,
enough to fall for it. And it's like
yeah,
you really got to give it up to him because he has no there's no bar that he's not going to cross to convey these characters, and we all see them as different people. We know even
Mm-hmm.
even when he is going through these transformations, you can clearly tell, oh, this is Hedwig, oh, this is so and so, this is Patricia.
Yeah.
It's masterful acting, really. And then to see him be the Beast, it's like I feel like the Beast feels like this is his job is to repair the broken or protect the broken. So
Mm-hmm.
watching that character, I wish we could have seen more of that particular character out of Kevin. I know we get him when we get him, but he really just wants to save broken people. And
Right.
Elijah uses that to his advantage. Mr. Glass, who's more broken than this guy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, and then he sets him against the guy who's literally unbreakable too, like the guy who has no scars, has never
mhm,
been, hurt or whatever like that. At least physically.
right.
Um, but I think that's what's interesting. That's everything that this movie is about all of them are broken, and nobody, I mean, they don't really get into it that much with that aspect of it. Um, one of the other aspects I thought was fantastic about this movie is that they brought back in um, each one of their um, like a side character from each one of their own
That was
things. So
brilliant.
you get Elisha's mom, you get David's son, and you get Anya Taylor-Joy's character Casey from Split. And
Mhm.
so you get all of these people who have emotional um, resonance for um, the main characters, and they play a side role through most of the movie, but they play important roles at the end, especially. And I feel like definitely you could have gotten into, and I think that's where it lays out. Like if this were to be, if there are to be more movies in the future,
Mhm.
this is where it could possibly go. But I love that they just that they are there. They're the people that are there for them.
Right.
Um, and I don't know. It was just fantastic to get all these characters again, especially
It
somebody
was a
like
lovely little icing on the
yeah,
cake to intertwine those characters with the people that they love. Even though Anya Taylor-Joy, you know, probably was going to be hurt until till the Beast realized that she was having her own specific trauma,
right.
she still tried to stay close to Kevin. There was still a connection there because he, in a sense, freed her from what she was going through.
Hmm.
I love the fact that they have those, like you said, those personal connections and that they brought those people back. Which is funny because the woman who plays Charlene Woodard, I think,
Yeah.
plays his mom, and she's only like 5 years older. No, Samuel Jackson's 5 years
She's
older than him.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
He's actually older
how
than
in
who
the
she
hell?
is. Well, and then later on, they went to play. They actually played husband and wife in Marvel's Secret Invasion.
That's
So
right.
yeah, so they obviously have a good time working together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny. I just was like, okay, that's interesting. But I mean, yeah, I think what he's doing in this movie with all of these characters is fantastic. I think just fleshing them out more, really kind of getting under their skin, and kind of like making them doubt themselves. Because that's, I mean, that's what she does. Sarah Paulson does a great job playing this person called Dr. Staple, and which somebody in brought up the fact that she's staples like in the comic books are stapled and so
Mhm.
um so there's this connection to comic books in her name, and so the you and you while she's doing this you are wondering about her motivations, and everything. You're just like, what is this to her? Like, is she just really actually concerned about these people? And they're like, they're um is she just the typical psychiatrist type doctor that is there trying to help people and figure out this stuff, or is there something deeper? um but I thought, and I'll admit, I'm not a huge fan of Sarah Paulson. She's okay. I
I
don't
think
like.
she's okay.
Yeah, it depends on the project. And I think the first time I didn't love her in this movie, but the upon this rewatch, I enjoyed her a lot more. Um, but yeah, everybody getting to see the returning people come back. This movie is actually only set 3 weeks after the events of Split.
Right.
So I mean, Casey's still dealing with the aftermath, and it's only been 3 weeks. Um, but for somebody who it's only been 3 weeks, it's like she's doing remarkably well. Um, and then obviously it's been 19 years since the events of Unbreakable, so both um Elijah's mother and David's son are both much older than they were in the last one. Um, but yeah, I just I thought everybody was doing such a great job in this. It was great to see all these people back. Um, it's I think that when the movie slows down and you're in the hospital
Hmm.
and she's starting to make them doubt um and everything, I think that's when it slows down. That's where it like lost me when I first watched it. Because I was just like, what is this? Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we slowing
Why
down?
are we having therapy sessions and
Why are we having therapy sessions? Like, and I'm sure part of it was like the Marvelification of everything to it all. Um, and but I don't know. I felt like this rewatch definitely was better because it had that distance things,
hmm
and especially watching this as part of the series and everything that I don't know, it just there was more that connected this time for sure. Um
It was definitely more enjoyable for myself, even though I knew what was coming. It
yeah.
moved a lot better, and I think I appreciate it a lot more after watching it the second time. Um, One of the things that is still unclear, well, maybe it's just me, this government, operation that, she's talking
Well, we
about
don't
going to go
well
ahead.
we actually it's interesting too because we don't know that it's a government
We
operation.
don't,
It's
yeah,
definitely
the
so
organization, I should say
so
that,
let's
shadow
talk about that real quick.
organization.
So because in the end it's revealed that she's part of a shadowy group of people who are keeping superhumans from gaining prominence. Anytime superhumans start to pop up, she and her group stop them,
Right.
mostly by trying to convince them that they are just regular people. And from what it sounds like, it's worked for a long time. They just
Hmm.
managed to convince them that they're just normal people that don't really have extraordinary abilities. They just think they do.
Hmm.
But they have had to kill people before and everything like that. And spoiler alert, obviously, getting into all this. But every one of the main characters dies by the end. The three main characters dies.
Hmm.
Um, as part of their plan. And so that I think that's part of what really tripped me up the last time was like I was like, what? Really? This is the dumb way he's gonna
Yeah,
die?
I wasn't expecting that at all, and I didn't care
Yeah.
for it the first time I watched it. I was like, this is like
But on the second
terrible.
time, I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it now. I get it. It's better now." But going back to what you said, let me go ahead and let you talk. I just want to kind of explain that before we got
Yeah,
into
yeah.
everything.
It's just the fact that one, right before David is dying, she's wanting him to touch her hand because
Hmm.
she wants him to have full knowledge of who she is and what they were doing and that he did have powers. He wasn't crazy, and this is what they do. They just go from place to place letting these people with powers know that you're nobody special when in reality there are a lot of people out here who have powers and they're just suppressing everything. um
Hmm.
I really appreciate the fact that she thought she was on top. And we come to find out glasses Elijah has always been 10 steps ahead of
Oh
everybody.
man,
I
yeah.
mean, the moment the realization that it hits her, of course, is in a comic book shop, and these kids in the back are talking and saying how, yeah, he had already had this plan in place, and it
Yeah.
dawns on her that, oh, wait a minute, I told him I had all these cameras everywhere. What about the footage from all of these cameras?
Well,
Um,
I think it also is so diabolical because as he's dying, that's when she reveals to him that that he was really very smart and like
mhm.
yes, they're heroes and he was right all along. And you see like the horror and the realization and everything on his face as he's dying. Um, but then like to realize afterward that he was still, even in his dying moments, he was putting on for her. Like he
Right.
didn't just go, I knew all along. He didn't tip his
He let
plan,
her
you know.
think that she had
Yeah.
won, and it
Yep.
was brilliant. And once again, he's 10 steps ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
Um, it was so much fun watching this. I fully need to just watch all three together now, just to kind of.
Right.
That's where I'm at right now. And my son even said that he was like, I want to go back and watch them all now. And I said, yeah, I do too. But we get the dramatic comic stings. We get the point where David's son, basically tells Kevin why he's the way he is, and Elijah's like, "Don't tell him yet." That whole "Don't
Yeah.
reveal it yet." But like his mom said, it was this suicide mission. He made this big show of, oh, we're gonna go to this new tower and kill everybody in this place,
Hmm.
because he, one, knew David was gonna try to stop them. Two, he knew that, the hospital people were, the security was gonna try to stop them, and he knew he wasn't gonna make it out of that. He fully intended on dying. Once it was revealed to Kevin, I assume he was gonna make the reveal himself, but
Yeah.
it was interesting how everything played out, and how thoughtful in a comic book fashion it was, just to have that reveal. I'm really glad of the way it ended too, with the three side characters kind of being together and revealing to the world
Yeah.
what our reality really is. I think that was probably one of the best endings that I've seen.
Well, and it's funny too because like when watching it originally, I was like, what does it matter? People are not going to believe them because, one, like we
Hmm.
just all assume everything's fake on the internet these days
AI and all
anyway.
that, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, even before then, special effects were getting better enough that
Hmm.
people like digital special effects were getting so good that you could do stuff like that.
Right.
And like just the average person could do stuff like that. But I saw something that somebody had said that this was a world where they didn't have, where comic book movies never existed.
Hmm.
Comic books did, obviously, but they never made it to the movies side of
Right.
things. And so, in a world where no comic book movies existed, maybe people would like, and especially where a government is keeping that kind, or not a government, but a shadowy group is keeping this from getting out. That once it did get out like that, then people would, and it would actually shock the system.
It would shock
Oh,
the system, and it would also
yeah,
let someone know who believes that they have a certain power that, hey, I'm not crazy. I actually can control
exactly.
plants, or I actually can talk to pets,
Yeah,
or whatever. It
right.
lets them know that they're not alone. And I fully love that for those characters, because they get to see people looking at their phones and looking at the screens and being like, "Oh my God, did you see, this is gonna be earth-shattering for a lot of people to even admit that this is a thing, because people are gonna be afraid of what they don't know. But for the people who have these powers, this is now solidifying to them that they have a purpose and that this is
Hmm.
who they are. I really love the fact that ordinary people were able to give this gift to everybody.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting too because you could take it, you could take the you know, some people could assume that the three at the end were going to continue on the works or the attitudes of the people that they were connected to. But I don't think that in any way. Elijah's mother wasn't going to become like the next, evil person, and
No.
Casey wasn't going to become the next beast or anything like that. They were trying to show the world that here that superhumans existed, and that the people that they knew and loved were these people, and that other people could be like them, and that was their
Hmm.
sole intent. I don't expect them to be some kind of like um superhuman group, or or shadowy
Like
group
X-Men.
themselves or anything like that. Yeah,
Right.
they're just three regular people who wanted to honor their the sacrifice that the other three had made um in this, and to show that this group had been keeping people down, or not even
Hmm.
to prove that part of it, because maybe they didn't even know as much, but they just had the footage. And
Right.
so it is interesting, but I love the idea like of this shadowy group who's doing this, and it would almost be fun if Shyamalan maybe didn't make another movie, but did some comic books about this group and about the other people that they had like convinced to or stopped from becoming superhumans and stuff. Just would be interesting to see like how long, because she makes mention that it's been going on for 10,000 years,
Right.
and so the fact that regular humans have been keeping superhumans from becoming a thing is interesting. So it's definitely a story that I would love to see furthered, but I at the same time I get why they wouldn't.
Hmm.
May only be good for a mini series or something like that, but still would be interesting to read. So or to watch, or whatever they would want to do with it. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's that part of it just really that part of it really gets me going. And I'm like, oh yeah, I would love to know more about this part of it. Which is great, always good to leave you wanting more.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's actually a fantastic movie. I'm glad that I got to go back and rewatch it, um, and enjoy it more this time than I had the previous time, because I do think that if somebody had watched it and maybe didn't love it the first time, then you should definitely go back and check it out. Maybe you'll enjoy it a little bit more
Hmm.
upon a rewatch. Maybe not, but I hope that you will, because I think there's more going on in it than what um, is on that surface level. That especially again, because there were bits that when David dies and everything like that, I was like, really, that you're gonna,
Yeah, I was
how
so
could he
pissed
not
at
get out of
that.
that, and so it was just like I was so upset with that, and then like Kevin dying from a gunshot wound and everything else like that, but I don't know, everything made more sense
Hmm.
this time,
It
and I
all
was just
made
like,
way more sense this time around.
yeah,
I was the same way. I was pissed. I was like, really? You're gonna hold him down in a puddle and he's just gonna die? I know
yeah,
water is his weakness, but come on, let's be
yeah,
real. But watching it this time, it just seemed more, I don't know, it just hit way better than it did the first time that I watched it. I really
exactly.
appreciated it a lot more on this level. So much so that now I know I'm gonna end up doing a rewatch and just watching all three.
Yeah, no, definitely. Um, I think that yeah, it's definitely worth that rewatch, and definitely worth going back and rewatching the whole trilogy again too, to kind of get that whole story. Um, Even if Split isn't like steeped in that comic book lore, um,
Hmm.
and everything that the other two are, I think that it's still and Split's. All three of these are fantastic movies. Split is fantastic. It was one of his best new ones that had come out, and so I'm really glad. I was kind of like, oh, okay, I remember Glass being okay, but not great, and so I was really glad that I was just like, okay, this is actually really good, and I'm so glad that it really was, and that I was like, I got it more this time, and so it's just, yeah, I don't know, very happy about that.
Yeah.
So, but that's all I have on that. Was there anything more that you wanted to mention that you didn't
No, I
before we
think
wrap up?
I'm just glad that he was able to make the trilogy that he wanted. It might not have been exactly what he wanted, but I'm glad that he was able to do it his way, and it wasn't passed off to anybody else. And it's just nice to see someone, like you said before, that has a deep appreciation and love for comics, and it really does come through in these films. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's definitely high up there for me now. When it was when it used to be very low. Um, but definitely shot up there in the ranks. Looking at my current ranking on Letterboxd of the Shyamalan movies, it's now my fifth highest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So after Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, The Village, and Split. So, I mean, obviously, Unbreakable and Split are going to be higher, but like not by much, honestly. So, uh, but yeah, it's a. I think it's fantastic, and I think everybody should rewatch it or watch it for the first time because it's so good and definitely completes the trilogy. I feel like it doesn't need anything else. If he
Mm-mm.
never makes anything related to it again, I think it's a satisfying conclusion.
Right.
Um, Leaves you wanting more, of course, but I think that it's just perfect the way it is, and I think it's a great conclusion. And I'm glad that um, I could get back and appreciate it more this second time. So, all right. Well, why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
Oh my goodness. So I am mostly on Instagram, although I haven't really been on social media much because I just need a break.
Hmm.
But yeah, Instagram, Blue Sky, I would say Discord, but I'm never on Discord. And then obviously anywhere you listen to podcasts, that's where my podcast is. So yeah, just check me out there. Y'all have probably heard me enough that you should know where I am by now.
And I have her. I'll have her Instagram linked in the show notes as well, so you can follow her there. All right. Well, thank you again for coming on for the big part of the episode. It's always fun to get you on for those as well as
Yeah.
the opening part.
Well, thank you for
Um,
having me. I mean, I love
yeah.
doing guest spots when I can. So
Well, you'll be back on sooner probably than later. I know we've already got plans for another full episode again soon after this series wraps up. But until then, stay creepy. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is produced and hosted by Robert Clark. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast by going to creepyandgeeky.com and clicking on any of the social links. If you'd like to follow me, you can find my links at geekthulu.com. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.